Now, the entire world has been on high alert since the outbreak of the coronavirus was announced in mid-January. And of course, with the concern of the spread of the virus across borders, many people are feeling reluctant to continue with prior travel plans. And joining us to share more on the impact of the coronavirus on the local tourism industry, CEO of South African Tourism, Mr. Sisa Ntshona. Happy birthday. No, it's not your birthday. It's good to see you, my leader. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You
Very
good?
well, thank you.
Awesome.
Very well, thank you. I'm sure the industry, your office has been under a huge amount of strain since the news broke internationally. How is the news of the coronavirus influencing the industry from both a global and a local perspective?
Sure. I've had to become a health expert, over the last couple of days. But just to kind of give you a better sense that the coronavirus is actually hitting the entire world, right? It's affecting the stock market, as an example, which has seen 2008 pre-crash levels. Now, within the tourism space, what it has actually done is that China is the world's largest source market for travel outside there. So therefore, when you lock down China, it has a reverberating effect across the entire world. Now, what has happened then is that ever since then is that travel has actually subdued over time because people are not so longer comfortable to actually move around. So it's become more than just China, but it's become travel in general. Now, the area that is most at risk for us is on the global conferencing space. So where South Africa actually holds conferences that are 90–95% attended by international people.
Oh, wow.
People are just kind of saying we're not comfortable to congregate in one space where there's other nationalities and everything else in place. And we've seen cancellations happen across the board, right from the US, obviously, especially in China. So it's become more than just China at the moment.
Yeah. So if people have already now made travel plans, booked flights, accommodation and such other things, what do they need to consider given the current status quo of the spread of the virus and, when they're considering continuing their travel plans or not?
Sure. So from the country perspective, the first thing we look at is actually the safety of South African citizens. We've got to make sure that, to date, we've had no cases of confirmed coronavirus. So we want to make sure that continues. Secondly, as well, the safety of our travelers in here. And that we've got to be able to balance that. And that supersedes any commercial consideration. Now, what we are looking at is say, well, there's going to be a gap in the market because people are no longer coming in. Hotels and accommodation, everything else, will have excess stock. There lies in the opportunity then to say, well, how do we focus on domestic tourism? Because even families are no longer traveling outside the country from South Africa. How then do we shift all this traffic to internal to make sure that South Africans actually travel a lot more within their own country? And also appeal out to the product owners, the hoteliers. So, well, just let's adjust some pricing and make it a bit more user-friendly for South Africans.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier on, is that the stock markets have been hit by this in multiple industries, not just tourism. We're talking the mining industry, the steel industry as well.
Well, I mean, China is a world's factory, right? And essentially, when you shut down, I mean, just to give you a bit of a sense, the Wuhan region is about 60 million people. That's like shutting down the whole of South Africa. You understand? Now, when China is no longer producing for the world, you can understand about consumption and everything else there, things stop. Our raw materials are no longer getting into China as well, so that impacts us as well. So the entire ecosystem is really going to be slowing down. And until we get a grab on the hold on this coronavirus, it's going to be quite tough for the next couple of months.
Or perhaps maybe a catalyst for other industries out there to look at other ways of processing raw materials. I mean, what if China were to be in big trouble? What do we then do as a global community, global industry? And like I said, maybe a catalyst for other industries to start making way. But how long, is there some kind of prediction as to say this is how long it'll take the tourism industry to recover? And if so, how does the industry plan to do that?
Well, this is a black swan event, so we don't know. Every day we meet and kind of have a dipstick and have a sense of where things are going. I think, like any epidemic, it kind of goes up in increase, it stabilizes over time, and then kind of decreases again. We just don't know how long it's going to take, and we literally look at it every single day. We are in constant conversation with the entire value chain. Airlines, as an example, is one of them, whereby they've really been hit now in terms of having less passengers actually on board. We've got to keep commerce going. We are particularly concerned about South Africa and say, well, what about the jobs that are in the tourism space? How do we keep it going? And we're also appealing out to South African corporates, say, well, you can play a role as well. Instead of, giving you incentives for staff to travel outside of the country, do it internally within the country. There's enough activities, facilities, and different types of things to do that can actually fulfill that gap.
In fact, more than enough. within our own borders. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Ntshona. We'll be back again with Mr. Ntshona to find out about the South African tourism's latest efforts to help us visit each other and welcome the world with their Home of Humanity campaign. All of that and more after a short break.